Hi, I'm Reverend Jake Zabel, and welcome to Children's Bible Stories. Alright children, in our previous video we talked about how Jacob had stolen Esau's blessing, and how Esau, when he found out, vowed to kill Jacob. And then that forced Jacob to run away to Haran. However, before we get to our next story about Jacob's dream, we could also have another story about Esau and his wives. So Esau had previously taken 2 wives, and they were both Hittite women. That meant they were Canaanite women, since the Hittites were Canaanite women. And Rebecca was very sad that Esau had married Canaanite women. Now, the reason she was sad was not because they were a different race to the Hebrews, but because they were of a different religion. And so she was very upset by this. And also, she needed an excuse to have Jacob run away from Esau, because she was worried that Esau was going to kill Jacob. And so, after she told Jacob to run off to Laban, she went to Isaac. And now, Rebecca didn't want to upset Isaac by letting him know that the reason Jacob had run away was because Esau was trying to kill him. So she had to come up with another excuse. And she went to Isaac and said, "Oh, it's such a horrible, terrible thing that our son Esau married those Canaanite women. It upsets me so dearly. Isaac, can we please send Jacob away to my brother Laban so he can find a good, believing wife from our own people?" And Isaac agreed and said, "Alright, that sounds a good idea. Send Jacob up to see Laban up in the land of Haran, and he can find a good, God-fearing wife up there from our Hebraic people." And so Isaac gave his blessing for Jacob to go to Laban. And Esau saw how much his marriage to these Canaanite women was troubling his mother. So he decided, I know, I'll marry one of our own people. And so he decided to marry an Ishmaelite woman, Mahalath. She was the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's oldest son, the half-brother of Isaac. And so Esau thought he was now doing a good thing by marrying Mahalath. But this didn't really fix the problem, because even though she was the same race as Isaac and Esau and Jacob, she too wasn't a believer in God. And so Esau didn't really fix the problem. He thought, yeah, this would fix the problem. I'll just marry a person of the same race and that will fix everything. But race doesn't matter with God. Faith matters with God. And so in the Bible, God often told the Israelites that they weren't allowed to marry foreign women. But God wasn't concerned with race. He was concerned with faith. And we know this because later, Rahab the prostitute, who was a Canaanite, she joins the Israelite people and marries Salmon, one of the ancestors of Jesus. And God has no problem with Salmon marrying a Canaanite woman because Rahab was a believer. The problem is when God's people went and married unbelievers from other nations who led them astray to worship false gods. And so that's what God had a problem with. And so it wasn't just that Esau was marrying in women from other races that was the problem. It's the fact that he kept marrying women who weren't believers. And so Jacob would go off to his uncle Laban and marry one of the believing, God-fearing women from there. But that's a story for another day, children. I've been your host, Reverend Jake Zabel. Goodbye and God bless.